part 3 to part 1. What is Shabbat? What is Shabbat? This is part of the series, The Importance of Shabbat. And part 1 is, what is Shabbat? So, we know that it is a holy day. It is a day of rest. It is a day, watch parts 1 and 2. You need to get caught up before you watch this. So we know that creation was commanded to produce itself on Shabbat. Genesis 2, verses 1 through 3. So, worship and healing are also a part of this too, because it's rejuvenation in Yahweh. The Sabbath is for rejuvenation and healing, which is why it didn't break Shabbat. And also, if you read the other verses about Shabbat in the Torah and the Tanakh, there is no command where you can't heal and you can't worship through healing on Shabbat. Anyway, so this is where this comes into play. So we can get revived in Yahweh. And how do we do that? We come to Him for healing. Plain and simple. We come to Him for healing. And then we heal others. Because it is good to heal. It is good to give life to the life that He created. It is worship when you do it that way. Worship and healing. Both of us extended to others. Yahweh to us and we to others. Just like our Messiah did. Yeshua healed on Shabbat. And like so, because throughout the course of time, Shabbat is healing. It's a gift. It's given to us for our good. It's given to us for our healing and rejuvenation and connection with Him. And when you're in connection with Him, what happens? You get healed. Which leads me to my last point on part 1. And this one's huge. We do not need to miss this one. Shabbat is a creation event. Shabbat is a creation event. I'll say it one more time. The Sabbath is a creation event. It is woven into the fabric of creation. It cannot be changed. It cannot be altered. It cannot be hidden. It is a created event. It is a created entity in and of itself. For Yahweh created everything in 6 days, but He created a 7th day as a creation in and of itself. While we might not know the depths of the sea or how Yahweh measured out the firmament, how He measured out the foundation of the earth, we might not know the intricacies of our own body. We might not know all the depths and the deepness to His creation, but it's visible. We might not understand or see how a snowflake is created and how they're all unique, or how the inside of a tree is truly, truly made, why the ocean stops at the sand, but we can see it. We might not understand it or know its depths or even know, but we can see it. 0 part of creation was hidden. 0. You can see the sky, you can see the stars, you can see the sun, you can see the ground, you can see the trees, you can see the animals, you can see the birds, you can see the fish, you can see you and me. No part of creation is hidden. And likewise, no part of creation was commanded to hide. I can't find it anywhere in Scripture. Shabbat is a creation event. If we start looking at it the way Yahweh built it, we can see that Shabbat is not hidden. It never has been hidden. It never can be hidden because it is woven into the fabric of creation. We are never commanded to look for Shabbat. We are never commanded to map it out. We're never commanded to look to the stars to find where Shabbat is, or the moon or the sun. The moon and the sun were created before Shabbat. I'll say that again. The moon and the sun, along with everything in creation, was created before Shabbat was created. So we are not to try and find Shabbat with day 4 of creation. We're not. What are we supposed to track with day 4 of creation? The Moedim, the seasons that were created with the sun, the moon, the stars. That's what we're supposed to use to track those days. And yes, the prophecies of the feast days, which are prophecy, the feast days were created before Shabbat. Isn't that interesting? We are commanded to track and look for and map out using the sun, the moon, the stars for those days, those appointed times, not Shabbat. Shabbat is its own separate entity. And if we look at the language of Shabbat throughout Scripture, throughout the Tanakh, Yahweh talks about Shabbat like it's a known thing. He uses language like you should know when this is. It is not hidden from you. He talks about it as if it's known. Keep my Sabbaths. It does not fit, and no, there's no extra day of creation. He created it days 1 through 6, then he created Shabbat. There's no secret 8th day at the beginning. There is no secret 8th day at the beginning. Okay? It just does not fit the fabric of Scripture. It does not fit how Yahweh speaks about his creation and Yahweh speaks about his Shabbat. It goes contradictory, and it starts leaning you towards secret knowledge, which we know, especially from Job, we know that secret knowledge is not, it's not of the Most High. It's of the spirits who want to give you secret knowledge to say, oh, you want to be like God. It's just like the serpent in the garden. Shabbat is a known thing. It's known, and Yahweh speaks about it as though it is. His language that he uses, it sounds like he knows that we should know when it is. And as we should, because it's not a hidden thing. It was a created day. We are never commanded to seek out Shabbat. We are never commanded to track Shabbat. It was never a command. You can't find it anywhere in Scripture. I mean, just like anything, you could take Scripture and justify it to your own way of thinking, but it's not a command that came from Yahweh's mouth. It's not there. And it actually, we see in Daniel 7:23, that it is the enemy that seeks to change times and laws. It is the enemy who wants to change the fabric of creation. But if you notice, he said seeks to change, because he can't change it. What in Job, when Satan is speaking to God, the enemy speaking to God, he's asking permission to do these things, right? And Yahweh says something very specific. I don't know where it is in Scripture exactly, but he says, you go ahead and seek out and see if you can tell me, measure out the depths of the earth and the height of the earth, and if you can tell me that, I'll give you my kingdom. And what do you think the enemy has been doing ever since? Just look at science now and NASA. He's been trying to answer that question for millennia. So even though the enemy seeks to change times and laws, and the Antichrist will seek to do the same thing, the only way he can do that is if you have doubt in Adonai, to where he can play on that doubt and make you question Yahweh and trick your mind to think that Shabbat is a day that it's not. That's the only way he can change times and laws, because it's woven into the fabric of creation. He can't change the fabric of creation. He cannot change this day. He can only deceive you into thinking that it's changed. That's the only thing that he can do to get you to break it, because of the doubt that's already inside of your flesh. So all he can do is play on the doubt that you have of Yahweh in your mind. If you don't have any doubt that Yahweh did this, the enemy is worthless to you. He can't do anything to you, because that's the only way he can seek to change times and laws. He can't create anything. He wasn't given that ability. All he can do is twist it and modify it and pervert it. And if you're really confused on what day it is, just look how Yeshua did it. You can track that. It's historical record. He observed the same Shabbat that the Jews at that time did, which is historical. And if it's good enough for the Lord of Shabbat, it should be good enough for us.